Hi everyone, welcome to day 25 of the 30-day music mini challenge. Today's topic is thinking and speaking objectively. I cannot stress enough how important this particular challenge is. How we talk to ourselves out loud, our thoughts, how we talk to each other, how we talk to our teachers. Our words transform us. They can transform the way we perform. They can transform the way we practice, and they can transform the way we listen and perceive music. And there's two different ways we can go with our words. We can use subjective words, which are really often judgmental words like, oh, it was good, or it was fine, or I loved it, or I hated it, oh, it was terrible. Or we can use very objective terms, that tend to have a little bit more backing in music literacy and music vocabulary. For example, I have a hard time with this tonal language. This is not something I'm familiar with. Or the emotion that the music was getting at was very distressing to me, and it reminded me of X, Y, and Z. Really being objective about what we're hearing, what we're doing, how we're performing, how we're thinking about our performing is just so important. I ask my students on a regular basis, how did it go? And I often get it was okay, or I did really good, or that was, well, so what was good and what could we do better, right? There's always that what could we do better, right? Because as musicians, we train to have a growth mindset, always searching for that next thing, that next level, that next expression that we're able to get through music, right? There's no end to our learning process. And that's one of the things I really love about music. And so we're always asking these questions, but it's really important to have solid verbiage, solid words, precise words that describe what it is that we're doing in our practice and what we hear in our listening and perceive in our performance to make it better. So for example, let's talk about practice to start. If you're practicing, it's very important to think beyond just going through the motions, right? And spacing out, because you can get yourself into a funk where you're not really making that kind of improvement that you want to. And so you want to be asking yourself questions, and you want to be asking yourself objective questions. You do not want to be saying things like, I don't want to sound horrible. Well, what does that mean? How do you not sound horrible? Focus on what you have control over and what you can do. So for example, objective. Did I get the notes? What notes can I improve on? Can I work on getting between the notes better? My slurs, my articulation, the crispness of my diction. Am I singing or playing in tune? Do I need to listen more? Do I need to use a tuner? What's my rhythm like? Is the tempo characteristic of the piece and the style? Is my rhythm consistent? Do I need to use a metronome? Phrasing. Am I phrasing? Am I inflecting? Where am I putting the emphasis? Am I thinking about what time signature the composer used? That's important. Composers don't use time signatures willy-nilly. There is a method to the madness. And I hope to maybe talk about that in future videos. Dynamics. Can I do more with my dynamics? Can I be more expressive? Or does this piece require something more static? Is this atmospheric? What kind of mood am I trying to get? Sound quality. What are my timbres? Do they match? These are objective things that we can talk about. And instead of just these broad subjective ideas about, I just want to get better, or, and when you think that, a lot of times there's not a lot of success because you don't have a clear goal. You don't have a clear idea in your head with words, with what you want to do. And it's hard to come up with words sometimes. And especially, it's hard to sometimes listen to ourselves. So, you can videotape yourself. We've talked about recording in a prior challenge. So when we practice, when we perform for our teachers, when we perform in general, we want to speak objectively. And there's a lot of mental impact to those words. And for example, when we use words like never and always, they almost always, they often give us trouble. usually when we use those kinds of words, it's like, I never get this right, or I always mess that up, or I'm really failing at this. I mean, really, that's what a lot of it is saying, right? And that doesn't help anybody, and it certainly doesn't help you. And Carol Dweck, with her research from Stanford University about mindsets, talks about the power of the words "not yet." There was a school district where it was a failing school, and they did an experiment. And instead of giving failing grades to the students who were failing, and there were quite a few, so not, like I said, not a successful school environment. It was a really tough situation. Instead of giving failing grades, they wrote "not yet." And now it's one of the best schools there is. When we think of learning, when we think of practicing, when we think of getting better at our music, it's the best thing to do is to think in a growing, learning way, a growth mindset, as opposed to I'm a failure or I'm not good at this. Think about what you can do to grow. And you can have the opposite problem as well. Perhaps you think you're fantastic and you're the best. What do you do when you're not? Having verbiage to kind of work through all of that is really important. And so I challenge you to ban words like never and always to your practice, and use words like not yet. I don't have it yet, but I'm going to go slow. I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to get it. I just don't have it yet, but that's okay. I'm going to get it. I'm going to ask you, when you think of your practice, to ban the words I can't. I can't is not helpful. And words like I can't can be transformative. I have a student that I worked with that for many years, I had to pound it into her mind that I can't was not helpful. And to change that to I can't yet, but I will. And now she's probably one of the most positive people I know. I don't know if I had any part in that, but she certainly has transformed over the years that I've taught her. And I worked very hard on helping her use words that were more positive for herself and more positive for her practice. Because negative self-talk certainly is not going to make us better musicians. And as listeners, it's really important to speak objectively as well. For example, music is not always there to make us feel happy or calm or any of these emotions that we usually attribute as good. Sometimes music is meant to be distressing or create a powerful emotion that gives us discomfort. Just like movies can give us a range of emotions, just like books and poetry can give us a range of emotion, so can music. And so when we talk about music, and when we talk about it with our practice, or when we talk about it with our listening, go to those objective ideas: notes, intonation, rhythm, tempo, phrasing, inflection. Another bonus challenge. So your challenge is to be more objective about how you speak. Think about positive self-talk. And your bonus challenge is going to be to listen to Bela Bartok's Music for Strings, Percussion, and Celeste. And be open. And I want you to think about this piece in terms of what emotions. Think of it as terms of tonal language. Think about in terms of phrasing and what you think the composer is trying to convey. And the next video, I will give you a little bit of information about that particular piece and why I had you listen to it. And I would really like you to speak objectively about it in your mind. And also, talking and speaking objectively also helps our relationships and be more clear and less judgmental. Without further ado, please share, inspire others to do the same, and I'll see you soon.